Welcome back. Great to have you with us on The Full View. Parliament's Justice and Correctional Services Portfolio Committee has held marathon meetings over the last 2 days as MPs have tried to get to the bottom of Thabo Bester's escape from the Mangaung Correctional Centre. MPs grilled 3 representatives of G4S, the company managing the prison, while the Ministers of Justice and Correctional Services as well as police were also under the spotlight. We're joined by Qubudile Dyantyi of the Parliamentary Committee on Justice and Correctional Services. Thank you for being with us, MP. It's been quite surreal for us as members of the media, for South Africans, to hear the revelations coming out and then some of the explanations as well. Has it been surreal for you?
Good evening, Francis, and good evening to all your viewers. It's been a very interesting 2 days of the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services, and I am confident that yourself and others would have watched members of that committee and that have acquitted themselves very well in the 2 days of seeking answers about not what is called an escape, of how the serial rapist and murderer has walked out of his jail cell.
Indeed, the committee has been noted for the vigour with which this has tackled. Many saying if only everything could be tackled in this manner by MPs. But now that everything has come out, what now? What's next?
So for 2 days, we would have probed the relevant role players in this entire saga, from the inspecting judge, G4S, the company dealing with the media and those cameras, the 2 ministers. And our sense is that, and in fact, our focus was we wanted to make sure that as we deal with this walking out of jail at a planned process, that we understand much better what are the deficiencies in terms of the functionality of that correctional center and the problem around the systems. Having done that for 2 days, we are now left with us meeting again in the next few days, next week probably, or that week, to then say, here is a report that we want to take to the National Assembly for it to adopt. We might want to assess that having listened for 2 days, does this require a proper inquiry, or have we gotten the kind of answers that we wanted? You would have observed that for the 2 days, there were things that we wanted to be done on the day, on the second day, as we closed yesterday. So we are not at an inquiry level. There still has got to be a determination whether there is a need for that. But what we got out of this has given us a lot of lessons and a lot of homework for us to play our own oversight role to the 2 ministers, their department, because G4S is under contract with Correctional Services.
What if you feel that one department or one person has been particularly remiss here? I mean, you questioned officials about why nothing was done for months. The police minister said, well, they didn't want to jeopardize the case. The justice minister said, well, he had done all that he could. The fact is, not much of an investigation was going on, and there was no alert, there was no manhunt. So what powers do you have to hold anybody to account? If there is an inquiry, then what?
Well, the committee has powers in terms of the rules of the National Assembly, including summoning, getting answers, as we did with G4S. What we have also picked up was that this whole issue of coordination became a problem here. There was a lot of feet dragging, blame game that has been played amongst the critical role players in this security cluster. And we've put that question to the ministers yesterday to say, we're just not satisfied about the pace they did things. It's good that we got this inmate back being rearrested, but the key issue here is that his walking out of that cell is characterizing a bigger problem. It's clear that there have been much bigger problems there even before he left that prison. In the manner things were done, it's clear that there was no outside invasion for this. It's internally planned. People who are part of the system, and we're happy that some are already being arrested in this process. And you can see, even today in court, it looks like this inmate, this Thabo Bester, wants to have a standard of his own. And we wonder if this was not what was happening before he left that cell.
But again, over and above saying to the officials involved, we're not happy with your explanation, what powers do you have to hold anybody accountable for what happened here?
So the next step we're going to do is going to be putting this report with recommendations about everything else that we listened to, that we picked up, to then play our oversight role to say these things must happen during this timeline. If that doesn't happen, then consequences will have to be actioned in that regard. Heads would have to roll. But it's clear that there's quite a lot that we are going to have to deal with. Part of this problem seems to be saying to us, let's not just look at the Mangaung Correctional Centre. It seems to be a sample of a bigger problem happening across all these correctional centers. So in this crisis, there's an opportunity for us to up our own game as members of parliament in ensuring that we attend to all of these systemic problems that we got, because everything else points to that the lack of systems, lack of functionality, no accountability has enabled this state of affairs. It's not an isolated incident.
What could your recommendations, for example, be in terms of G4S, which still has a contract to run that prison for the next 3 years?
We started already yesterday. So the contract that they have, the Department of Correctional Services themselves in their presentation were saying they've got 18 breaches of that contract, 18, where they are indicating they have failed to do this, they have contravened this clause, they have breached this clause, they are not effective on this, 18 of those. So in all practicalities, it looks like that contract is not working. And we have then posed the question to them, why should that contract not be terminated? We are aware that for the period remaining between now and when that contract ends, the amount, the quantitative amount for that contract is 2 billion. But the 2 billion has got to be looked at the protecting the life of victims, because we're a victim-centric kind of country. So we're going to have to look at those losses if they have to do and terminate that contract. It's very clear that it's not working, even if we're looking at it almost at the end of it. And we are hoping that when they come back, they have said they've sought legal opinion in relation to this.
Okay, so that may be cut through legal means. And let's end it there, because lawyers have actually told us that there's a potential case against the state here. Say new victims come forward or previous victims were traumatized. So if this goes further and legal cases are heard, is it a matter of public record now? Could what has come out in Parliament be used in the courts down the line?
I would not want to cross that bridge for now. We will be watching that space as members of Parliament, as part of our oversight role, and attend to the matters as they will arise. There are such possibilities, but we can't for sure indicate that now.
All right, thank you very much. MP from the Parliamentary Committee on Justice and Correctional Services, Qubudile Dyantyi, thank you very much for your time.